Laura Avery, the Santa Monica Farmers Market Supervisor, and welcome to Cooking with the Farmers Market. This show features local chefs who shop at the Santa Monica Farmers Market and who will share their secrets for creating delicious meals using the fresh fruits and vegetables from the market. Buying fresh from the farmers market when you bring your own bag reduces packaging waste, avoids processed food, and helps keep California family farmers on the farm. Today, I'm happy to welcome Santa Monica chef and restaurant owner Josie LaBalch of Josie and Josie Next Door restaurants on Pico Boulevard. Josie grew up cooking at her dad's restaurant in Los Angeles and is a longtime farmers market supporter, as her recipes today will demonstrate. Welcome, Josie. What are we making today?
We're going to make a couple things from the restaurant. We're going to make a quiche with a little variation. We do mushrooms at the restaurant, but we're going to do it with asparagus from Zuckerman Farms, a few of our farmers.
Mushrooms are in short supply, sadly, at the farmers markets. Yeah. Hope to fix that sometime.
Yeah. Well, and right now I kind of like to do seasonal, so we roll into zucchini. We'll roll into this. Is such a versatile dish that you can do.
So quiche at the Josie restaurant, the quiche has become the signature dish that everybody waits for. Now
and
we can learn how to make it.
Now we have it next door. You can get a whole wedge.
Great.
So we have the recipes going to be on the website for the market.
Farmers Market website.
So I'm going to bypass a few things.
Okay.
I'm going to show you little tricks though that we can do with it.
Right.
So the pie crust, you can buy one at the store. Or you can make the recipe on there. But one of the things you want to use is you want to blind bake it first, so it's not raw after the quiche is
So the blind
finished.
baking, so you're baking it unfilled.
Right. So one of the tricks to do when it's raw, you can use a coffee filter, which is great. It's a great little trick. And then beans in it. They have baking beans and stuff, but these are so, you can reuse them over and over.
I was going to say, you can keep just using those, just dried beans?
Dry beans. So you'll put it in, you'll cook it for about 10 minutes, and then take it out and let it cool, and then we'll have a finished one that I'll show you when we
so the pie crust is done in advance.
Done in advance,
so
and that's so you don't have the raw dough underneath. When the quiche comes out, you have a nice, crusty, crispy bottom on that.
Yum, yum,
and that you can use with any kind of pies that you're making, fruit pies or anything. You won't have to do that
Cook it, bake it first.
Yeah. So, and I'm going to show you, we're going to do this, so you have the oven on already, rather than heating up the stove and everything. This is you can do in your oven.
Right.
So I'm going to show you little tricks with asparagus. We're going to do asparagus two ways. We're going to do them roasted for the quiche, and then we're going to make a salad afterwards where we're going to use them raw.
Okay.
So people don't always know what to do with asparagus. This gives you a lot of versatility because they're around for
People
a short
don't even
while.
know how to prepare it to get it ready to cook sometimes.
Exactly. And these, we were talking about having it in the refrigerator, and I usually, when I get home from the market, take a little end off and just wrap it with a damp paper towel and put it in a plastic and leave the top open.
Oh, okay.
And they'll last in your fridge. With the beef tenderloins that we'll use later, I do that same thing. I put it in one, like flowers.
Now, I was a snapper. I would take my asparagus and I would wait till it naturally snapped, and I was pretty much throwing away about a third of a stem.
Yeah, you don't want to do that.
You're saying you don't have to do that.
This. It's all meat inside. So the bottom part is where it's tough. You want to get down through the end of the asparagus bottom, just down to where the meat is. Take all the peelings off.
Now you're just peeling the bottom?
I'm just peeling the bottom. So about where you would probably snap it is about where I'm going to go, because it's tender. You can take your fingernail and check that out.
So what makes it tough is just the tough skin.
It's the skin.
It's nice and soft underneath.
Exactly. It's like using the white asparagus. The whole skin is tough, so we usually peel them from the very top.
You
but
do.
these you don't have to.
These are the Zuckerman asparagus.
These are, and they have all the different sizes. And I peel even, the only ones I don't peel are the pencil size, because those you pretty much can eat the whole thing. So I usually take these, just throw them on a cookie sheet.
Right.
And then we're also using some spring onions that we've got from Peter Shaner yesterday, which
now
is so
spring
much
onions,
fun.
these are just little onions that haven't bulbed all the way yet. These are just growing from little tiny starts to the big round onions.
They have the red ones, and they have the white ones. What we do at the restaurant is I will cut the tops off, and we julienne them, and we actually tempura batter them, and we fry them. They're delicious. They're like a, instead of fried onions, you'd have just the green tops. It's so delicate. Yeah.
Really?
Well, you can do it with this too, but this is like, most people throw them away or just use them in soup. So.
Or use them as chives. Aren't those almost like
chives? Yeah, exactly, raw, but tempura like that is a whole other thing to do with it. And the onions, the same thing. We just cut them in half, and then we'll toss everything with a little bit of olive oil. That you bought this beautiful olive oil. I usually cook with not an extra virgin and kind of finish with a virgin olive oil.
Well, yeah, farmer's market, and this is a Mission olive, and it is so fruity. It's really nice.
So these go in the oven for about maybe 8 minutes, and then when they come out, they look like this.
At what temperature?
So about 350, the same that you're going to do the quiche in. And that way you have these, you can use these the night before for dinner, and you can use the leftovers to make the quiche or risotto or anything you want, which is interesting because we have that lovely grain that we're going to talk
We're going
about.
to talk about that next. So for a quiche, what are your proportions here? How many?
Well, the recipe that we have, it's an 8 eggs and it makes 2 whole quiche. So we're going to do.
The asparagus, it's coming to sadly, it's coming to the end of the season, but that jumbo asparagus, what I found out is it's actually the jumbo is more tender because it's younger. It's sort of the fresh growth.
It's the ones that are starting. But again, in
So,
peeling
yeah,
it, you can use the whole thing.
Right.
That's what's so lovely
Right,
about
and
it.
you don't have to snap. I didn't. So good to know.
So this is our spring onion. The recipe, I switch it to spring onion, but you could use regular onion and saute them. You don't have to do it in the oven, but that's just such an easy thing. Those vegetables that we roasted, you could make a salad with or do anything, but what you're left with is this. So I usually take, I used my little bowl. Let me use this one.
Okay.
I usually take the grated cheese. So we do a mix of Gruyere and Swiss because the Gruyere is really strong on its own. So I feel like it takes over the vegetable, especially if you're using something delicate like the spring onion. And so I like to put the cheese in and the onion that we've just diced up and pulled it off. It's where left over.
So
And that's
delicious.
actually probably
That's
enough for
quite
2 quiche.
sweet
We're just
too.
doing
Those
one.
onions. Oh, so good.
Exactly. And so I took the end of the asparagus, and I'll show you what I'll do with that, just so you can put a little decoration on top. And then we mix this together. And rather than layering cheese in the vegetable, you get the vegetable throughout the whole dish.
Oh yes, yeah.
So that's an easy one.
Now, have you measured anything here? What are we doing?
Well, I have on the recipe, it gives you
Okay.
the cheese for both and the
Okay.
exact,
So you
amount
mix
of
one at a
eggs
time,
and-
put it in, mix
you
the
could
other
do
one,
2 right
and then put
now.
it in. Okay.
Do you want to eat 2?
I don't know how
Look at
you
you.
evenly
I got an
portion
extra one for
between
you to
two.
take home, so. It's all in the eye. Well,
Such
you
a
know what? I
treat.
don't make a real eggy quiche. That's the one thing that people say like they don't necessarily like quiche. Ours is kind of like more like a cheese pie, I like to think.
Lots of cheese.
Yeah, David gets mad when I,
like
say
that.
cheese pie.
Back.
Is there
Okay.
a fork right down under there?
Probably.
Right there, and I'll show you how. So I pretty much
Save
fill
mine
it
for later.
all the way to the top, and then use your fork and spread it out nice and evenly. And then I take all the little bits of cheese off the crust. It's going to give you a nice clean look to it.
So it's
and
not those
that's-
little burnt things hanging
Yeah,
out the
and
edge.
that's, nobody wants to eat that.
Okay, right.
So again, the custard I already pre-made. But
What is in the custard?
The custard is eggs, a little bit of sour cream, heavy cream, and I use half and half. It lightens up the recipe. Because I use a lot of cheese, I compact the cheese. You don't need it as custardy or as heavy, and it kind of lightens it up. Rather than using non-fat or use the good stuff, and a little trick with
Right.
saving from the heavy cream.
Right.
And that way you can have a nice bite and maybe not such
This is
big
so
bite.
great that it's in this little carafe.
I just was looking for something I could easily pour. I usually ladle it. The recipe makes enough for 2. And the trick about it is, and the reason I did it so I can show you, is you want to go very slowly. Be patient, which we aren't in the kitchen. half
Just
the
sort
time.
of cover.
Go slowly, because if
whole
you go too
surface.
quickly, it's going to pour over. You're going to get your ugly crust. And you don't want it to pour underneath, because then it ends up sticking when you take it out. It's hard to cut a slice out.
Oh.
So those are the little gimmicks that we do. So you
So
want to bring it
it's
just
coming
up to the top, and then you're going to take your fork again, and you're just going to give it some, a little bit of,
Now that's wet. That's gonna start getting that crust.
but that's why you par bake it.
Rush it right in the oven.
That's
I'd
why-
be,
yeah,
I'd be
you don't make
anxious
this ahead of
now.
time. You could put the cheese and everything ahead of time,
But don't be pouring.
and then
okay.
have them in the fridge ready to go if you want to do it the day before. But it's such an easy recipe. You can have
People are
everything ready.
daunted, A, by the crust, B, by the fact it's a quiche. Now, what's this? What's up with that? Are we
The
gonna do-
nutmeg was in the custard.
Oh,
so you
okay.
can use it. I'm not a huge fan of nutmeg. A little fresh nutmeg in there. We were talking last night about mace and that it's the skin of the outside
Yeah,
of it.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, interesting stuff.
So now-
and so I didn't show you, but I take a little bitty one of the asparagus tips and I put it on top, and I have that on the finished one that we'll look at.
Okay, so it seemed like there weren't a lot of vegetables. There was more
You
cheese,
can
but that's
use
up to
all the
you.
vegetables that you want. You can put more vegetables in there.
Yeah.
The thing is if you're mixing it in the bowl ahead of time, you'll have an even distribution.
Right.
Rather than if you layer it, which is a lot of the recipes show you how to put the cheese and then whatever vegetable you're
Yeah.
using, and then it separates when it cooks because the water can come out of the vegetable.
Yeah.
And roasting them takes a lot of water out. I would do that with zucchini. If I did a zucchini one, I would roast the zucchini, so you get a lot
So
of
it
the
doesn't get all
yeah, and
watery
it
in
doesn't
the-
get watery, and it helps with your custard.
And how long is that going to bake?
That's going to bake for about 35 minutes.
Okay.
If your oven's running slow and it shakes a little bit too much before it's done, you can put a little ring of foil around it so your crust doesn't burn.
Okay.
But that one, and then we're going to have that on after.
I love your little quiches. And yeah, and the good thing about it'll probably cut nice and firm, so you can cut those little slices so it isn't just
and I have a couple
soup.
tricks I'll show you afterwards when we do it, where we can flip it upside down and cut it when it's cold, and then put it back in and then warm it up. So that's how we do 20 slivers out of it when we do parties. And so we cut it ahead of time when it's cold, and then pop it back in, and it really works.
And 8 eggs in that for 2 quiches?
8
4 eggs per quiche.
It's 8 eggs and cream and the half and half and the nutmeg. And again, if you want to mix your cheeses in there, it gives it a little bit extra flavor. And let me show you the other thing we're going to do with asparagus.
Yeah,
that's a fun one,
so
and that takes
we
a
want to
little bit.
eat as much of this as possible right now, this time of year, because it's really at its
the slice
peak.
now.
Yeah.
So one of the things we were going to talk about was asparagus and other ways to use them. So we have our beautiful Zuckerman asparagus. Again, this is going to be a little bit different. We're going to take the asparagus and we're going to peel it the other way.
Okay, the whole thing.
The whole thing. Well, you're going to have a little bit left.
Now, is this just a carrot peeler? Just a...
Yeah, you want to find one that has a little bit wider.
Uh-huh.
And they're all different. That one, when I was peeling, is a little bit more difficult. This one I'll show you gives you a little bit more. So I usually go about 5. And
Now you're saying, okay, so this is the salad. The,
this is a special tool.
that piece of cardboard?
This is a piece of cardboard wrapped in plastic, and I'll tell you what it does.
Okay.
It really makes it easy for you at home because, you know, we have the mandolins and stuff, which
Are
I
you
love
selling
to use
these
for
at the
this.
restaurant?
Yeah, right. I made that this morning in the house. It was
That's great.
wrap it with zip pack. But if you do that, then the difference that you have in the thing, so then you can actually get
Keep going.
all of it. So we want to do a few of these for our salad.
And won't you go back the other way to get the rest of it?
Well, you can go all the way,
Yeah.
but I want to get you some going.
Okay.
So you'll get everything.
Okay.
And then what you can use with the peeler, with the balance that you have, is this you could use for your quiche so that you don't waste it all. But it's better to start on the top because depending on the length of your asparagus, how much you're going to get. So this I would roast, or I would use it for soup, or because you want to have a real pretty salad.
So in your salad, you're being very, very specific about the size of the peels that you're putting in that salad. So you can't use these little guys. I'm going to taste this.
Well, you can. You can use a bigger peeler. Some of them are going to give you, like the one that I'm doing is a little bit thinner. But the idea is that you want to have some delicate ones that you can eat raw. And this, what's great about it, is this whole salad that I'm going to make, the fennel that we're going to use, and the vegetables and the pea tenderolls that we're going to do, is you can do this the day before, have your salad, and whatever's left, you could also use for sautéing under some fish or steaming the vegetables.
Because you haven't dressed it yet. You're just slicing up all these vegetables.
So I would make these ahead of time. You see, it's pretty simple.
Really easy, yeah.
And I'm going to be a little wasteful because we're going to run out of time.
Now all of
so-
these, like you said, we can just,
Yeah, you can keep going.
this is
and-
raw, so we could actually roast this, put it in our quiche, or do something else with it.
Yes.
Okay.
Or soup, or, you know,
Yeah.
we always keep a
Pasta
bag in the
sauce.
freezer that I put, you know, all the onions and things that we have left over at the house when I'm home cooking. So then I can pull those out and pick some, you know, a big pot of soup or something on the weekend. And you could take your paring knife and, you know, go back in and take a little bit more
Super
off if you want to,
slick,
you know,
yeah.
so you have it.
All right,
on those
so, yeah. This
But
just
this
looks
is
so
just,
fresh.
yeah, it's just fun. It's something that, you know, people don't think to use raw asparagus, and it's another option that you have with that. So,
Great. And
so I was going to talk a little bit about pea tenderolls that we
now
have.
these are the pea that turn into the flowers, or the ones that turn into the little sugar snap peas? What kind of peas are these?
It's both. It could be either one.
Okay.
I even saw that one of the farmers was doing the fava bean tops, which I thought was funny because they're
From
a little
McGrath.
furry.
Yeah.
So you want to get them when they're really, really young. But
With
you
the
know,
flowers even.
Yeah, and these I have some with flowers in them as well. We use all of them.
Those are
so
so-
yeah, and the one thing that you want to do when you clean them, so it's the same thing with the asparagus. You want to take a little bit off the bottom and keep them in the fridge in a little bit of water, just like you
Okay.
would flour, and they'll stay bright. And if you buy them and they're a little wilted, if you get to the market a little bit late, you can always take them home and refresh them like that.
Okay,
They're still
stick
wonderful.
cut the stems, put them in water, like a flower. Okay.
Yeah, and I'm getting these from Coleman has them out. He has a lot of the wonderful greens that we use at the restaurant, the kales and all that stuff that we use.
And they look, like you said, so bright. So
and they're
nice.
delicious. I mean,
Yeah.
people don't think to eat them in a salad.
Yeah.
So I brought this, and I wanted to show you a couple little things that you want to do with them. Is you want to make sure that you, as you're cleaning them, you want to look in between and just check the leaves so there's no little buddies.
Little
Because they
buddies?
are
Yeah.
a live product, and then you can rinse them and spin them in a salad spinner. I brought a little bit of Mitsuna that I got also yesterday.
Now, what is Mitsuna?
It's another greens. It can be a great sauteing green, but when they're young like this, they're nice in the salad to fill in the.
Is it, I'm going to taste it and tell you what it tastes like.
Tell us what it tastes like.
I've heard that, is that Japanese spinach or something?
Yeah, and it's not as peppery as
But it's
watercress
pungent.
Or
Yeah.
it's just a good flavor that I like to
That is
put
a
in
good, Mizuna.
there.
Uh-huh.
And then
Delish.
we got some fennel, and so I shaved this on a mandolin. You could cut it paper thin if you wanted to with a knife, or this
you
is a
gotta
great
use
little
that
toy.
and not your
Yeah,
little
no,
other
you
one?
want to use one of
Okay.
these to get it nice and you can do this also the day before and keep it in some water. You don't even need lemon with it.
And let's look at fennel in its
So we have fennel
natural-
bulbs.
Yeah, these
And then we
beautiful
also
things.
use the pond fronds. We were talking about doing some herbs in here yesterday.
Yeah.
But I thought it might be fun to just use the top of the
Right.
the fronds to put in so you get a little bit of a look of it.
Right, and the fennel has that real slight licoricey flavor, I
Yeah,
suppose
and just
the
a little
tops do
bit. The
too.
dill, if you use dill, it's a little too strong. You get a little bit more flavor in it, and it gives that little, like when you put chopped parsley for that little visual that you want. This is a fun thing that we do.
Okay.
And then we were talking about dressings, and this is just a simple
Yes,
lemon.
and we got to tell people, don't go out and buy salad dressings in a bottle. We've got that beautiful
And
olive
don't buy
oil.
lemon in the bottle. Use.
Yes, okay.
So we've got
Why
wonderful
not?
Meyer lemons at the market.
Why don't we buy lemons in the bottle?
Because
Lemon
it's
juice?
not real. This is God's gift to you. This is the bottle that you want to use. It's
Wait, now
already
this is a
there.
Meyer lemon, so
This is a
what's
Meyer
up
lemon,
with
so it
that?
has a little bit different flavor. I think they're only in California. I mean, they ship them all over the place, but it's one of ours.
Not sure.
There's a big story about they were brought here. I have to go through and remember, but I don't remember.
Well,
But if
they
you look it
are.
up, you find them only in California. Some
do?
people think they're a cross between an orange and a lemon,
Yeah.
and they're not. They're
they're
a
not.
type of a
So
lemon juice.
yeah, they're not that real astringent lemon. They
They're not
really have a
super strong. They
sweet.
have a nice soft flavor. We used to always we had them in the in the backyard growing up, and we always thought like the neighbors came over because if you leave them on the vine, they keep getting a little thinner skin. They're nice to use. You can just shave this into a salad. The skin when they're young, they're really
They're
good
so
flavor.
yeah, and I just
Yeah.
took a few seeds out there for you.
So what I
Okay.
do is I like to use whatever acid I'm using, if it's lemon juice or vinegar or whatever it is, before I add the olive oil.
Yeah.
I put the salt and pepper in first.
Okay.
Mostly I put the salt in just to dissolve the salt.
So you
There's a
put the
whisk right
acid
down
in
there.
and then the oil?
Yes, because the salt will just, it'll dissolve better. If you put the oil in, then it's a little harder for it
Okay, okay.
to do. And if you like it tart, you could add a little spot of vinegar to this. You could put, different lemon in it if you wanted to. You could use the juice from the citrus that we're doing in there would be nice, the cara cara. And then, so tell me again about this olive oil.
Now the
because
olive
this was
oil is
so
from
exciting.
Adams Olives, and they are a 5-generation olive farm. This is the mission, and you go to one of their salespeople, and you just ask, "This is what I'm doing," and they'll recommend an olive oil. This is their mission, and it's a real buttery smell.
Yeah, you were saying you cook with it. I like to save those too.
I didn't know you're supposed to cook with the cheap stuff and finish with the good stuff. Now I know. So anyway,
It's
but
like
I
the
do try to buy
wine.
California
It's the
whenever
wine.
possible.
So we
Okay.
were going to talk a little bit. I have some cara caras, which I think have just finished up at the market.
Those are the pink navels.
Yeah,
Those
and they're
delicious pink. And look at
beautiful.
this.
And Shaner has some lovely, well, these are from Shaner.
Some
he has the
professional
blood
has
orange.
skinned those for you.
Yes,
You have professionals.
I have professionals around.
That's
I
beautiful.
had Laura working earlier to help me. They're great.
I didn't do it. I can't take credit. Sorry.
But he has also the Oro Blanco grapefruit. So we do one of the salads at the restaurant is we put in the Oro Blanco and then the blood orange salad. And people look at the blood orange and they think it's going to be sweet like
Yes,
cherry. And
yes,
they look at the
very-
Oro Blanco and their mouth salivates.
Yeah.
But then you taste the Oro
Right.
Blanco and
So
it's
sweet.
so sweet. And
Right.
this one has the more, so it
Right.
gives that good contrast to it.
So blood oranges and cara cara.
Right. And so I'm going to, when we're going to have a little something to eat, I'm going to toss it and then I'm going to put these in last with a little bit of the lemon juice.
Okay.
Seasoning.
So we got
but I don't
lemon
want to put
juice.
them in early because they'll fall apart the way we've cut them.
Okay, so the Mizuna and the pea tendrils and the fennel.
Fennel, fronds,
Oh,
which kind of gives it a little hearty. I just kind of dress it, but I
We've
didn't toss it,
tossed.
so you
Okay.
can do that ahead of time as
Okay.
well. And then we were going to talk about some other fruits that are available. You could do anything with it. So we
Right.
have some fun fruits the cherries that are just starting, and you and I were tasting them earlier. There's a couple different, the sequoias.
Believe it or
and the
not, right
things.
now there's 4 different kinds of cherries. A
Five.
lot of
He had
peop-
another one. Yeah, I only got 3 of them, and this one was interesting. It's called the GG1 because
Yes.
they don't have a name for it
Yes.
yet.
Yeah.
But it's sweet like a Bing, but it's firm.
But look at the size, and look at the size, and
Yeah.
the color. I mean, it's so fun
And
this
that's
time
the thing
of year.
that's fun with those when
Yeah.
you have a cherry this big. You know, you have a pitter, which is great. If you're pitting them into a bowl, drizzle a little olive oil on it so it doesn't oxidize. So you can do those a bit ahead of time. We do as
You
we
mean
cut 'em.
after they're pitted, you
Yeah,
drizzle them with olive
yeah, as
oil?
you're going. So these, because we usually just have this as a treat, and then we make a big pile so they look
Oh, you
really
can take the
nice.
middle.
There you
Oh,
go.
yeah.
And so, and this as well, I would drizzle with a little bit of olive oil
Really?
because so it doesn't oxidize in the bowl.
'Kay.
And then they'll last a little bit longer. And they're great for cooking, or you can make sauce with the little bits that you have. But usually that's your little
You can
treat
like,
for
you
putting
can
them
like
together.
just like brandy these and just have them like little candy suckers.
Yeah.
Okay. Got
Well,
1
we
minute.
usually brand them and take the spit out of the bottom, which is fun. David does fun stuff like that.
So then, when you're ready to serve,
Well, let's talk about this wonderful grain that you have. Pull that bag out.
okay.
That was so much fun.
but we're ready to serve now.
Okay.
Okay. So this is
This is the grain. It's a barley that I got at the market, and I've cooked it. It cooks like wild rice. Also, their rice is cooked like with a lot of water. It's not, 2 cups and 2 cups and cook
Right,
it down like basmati or
right.
something. And I've just dressed this cold with a little bit of the olive oil and a little
This
salt
is
and
the
pepper.
barley.
It's delicious. It's a wonderful grain. She's there every other week now.
no, every once a month. Well, we'll
Once a
talk
month.
about it when we
I
get
should have
this
bought
whole
more.
thing put together. All right.
Okay.
Well, we're going to throw all of this into
Together,
that bowl.
and then we're going to make a dish.
Yeah, and then we're going to like toss it all up,
you
and then
wanna
we're
do that
going to
right now?
pull the quiche out, and then we're going to have some of that with the salad in a minute when we come back.
Riding a bicycle can seem like child's play.
But only if you're playing indoors.
Riding in the real street has real consequences.
Play it safe. Ride by the rules. Cars and bikes need to play together.
Okay, the quiche has come out of the oven, and now how long do you have to wait before you can cut it so it's
You could eat
set?
it right away, but it's
Yeah.
nice to let it sit for 5 minutes just
it's
so,
not
because
too
it'll
hot.
be poofed up a little bit. It'll be easier to cut, and it won't, it's
Okay.
like cheese, it'll melt into it. I wanted to show you a quick little trick. This one we made yesterday, and it's cold. And so when
Okay.
you want to portion it for brunch or
Yeah.
something, because you can make these like 3 or 4 days ahead of time, when it's cool, if you flip it upside down, and then you can take it and cut it into pieces. I'm not going to actually do it. And then put them back into the pan. And then when you go to heat it up, it'll have marks on it. It'll be easier. You'll still have to run a knife through it, but it makes it so you
Right.
can get it out instead of
Right.
what we're going to do, which is the better way because it's the greedy way because you can get a nice piece out of it.
How do you know where you're starting in the middle? Like mine are always crooked, and I get like odd shapes. Okay. Anyway,
That's because you always like the biggest piece. Don't even pull that on me.
because I try to.
Yeah.
Okay, so
well, you can start by cutting it in half, but we're just going to have it, like as big a piece. How big a piece do you want? Oh, here's the little asparagus I was showing you
yes,
also.
you
just
can
to mark.
see that.
Because a lot of times, if we're making a lot of different ones, so we might put a little sliver of zucchini on the zucchini one and mushroom on the mushroom one, so that we don't confuse them.
So
this is
that
our
is look
quiche.
at the
So you
side.
don't see a lot
Oh.
of the asparagus because again we have the spring
Yes.
onions in there, so it's a little bit lighter. You could use red onions, which are sweet and delicious also.
Now, Josie Restaurant is known. It's a very elegant, very fine dining, very high end. And this little quiche used to be the little starter people would get.
Yes.
The tiniest little sliver of
Sliver.
that thing.
My
And
dad used to do it
so-
at his restaurant when we were growing up, and so
so
we put that
excited.
in the restaurant. But now that we have next door, which is a whole different concept, we have the quiche as an actual dish. So you can come in and get a wedge with a salad. Salad changes around.
So how many? This is what, a 9-inch. So you're getting like 6 or 8 servings out of that.
We are doing 5 for the
Okay.
one that we serve
Oh.
at the restaurant, so you get a nice piece.
Yeah.
I make 20 out of this when we did the event that we were talking about the other day, and I do 20 when it's a little sliver.
Little tiny
Anything.
slivers,
I have
yeah.
people that call and they want us to pre-cut them for them, and then they pick them up. We sell them whole at the restaurant. We've done that since
So
we've
good.
opened.
And again, the vegetables change seasonally.
Yeah. So right
So what
now
a
we
great
have the
plate.
asparagus and the mushroom.
Now,
one
is
that
this
we have at the
something you
restaurant.
get over at next door? This is what
This is what you get next
a
door.
dish you get.
Right, and we have a greens with it right now with a bunch of the herbs and from the market and like shaved carrots and fun stuff. So, and this is our salad. You got busy cutting some cherries because you were
I
so
love
excited
those
about
cherries.
them.
I love that idea. Yeah, or you can use a cherry pitter, and then so this is the mizuna and the asparagus and the pea tendrils.
Pea tendrils, and again, anything you like. You could use
Two kinds of
arugula,
citrus.
anything you like
yeah.
that's delicious, that is your fancy for.
Now, we didn't
fruit.
use the tarragon. We thought that would be just a little too much good
Well,
stuff, right?
I think that because we use the tops of the fennel that nobody uses, it's kind of like beets. You know, nobody
Yeah.
uses the top of the
Yes.
beets. I see them at the farmer's market. I
Right.
grab boxes
They're
of them
so
for my
beautiful.
chickens.
Right.
But you know, those are great sautéed. So things like the top of the fronds, people don't know what to do with them. You can use them instead of dill. It's too strong. But if you like tarragon, you could put it in there. Any of the soft herbs would be really delightful in there. Just your flavor profile. The tarragon works with the fennel again because it has that same kind of flavor profile.
Right,
Are you
and
going to
then-
try a piece of quiche?
Can I try one right now? Here's my fork. And then the other thing, you know, we want to talk about what else we put on this salad, which is, I'm going to try, I get the little point, right?
Yeah.
The great soda, so good. So
You
good.
got
Look at
that cheesy
cheese.
middle part. So this one I don't serve the cheese. This one I get a little bit of the salty ricotta cheese from Guidi Marcello, which is another one of our. And I was buying from him way back when I was at Remy on the 3rd Street Promenade. He had a lot of. I just make her take a big bite full so I can just keep talking now.
What kind?
It's
Yeah,
great.
right. And what kind of cheese
So
is
this
this?
is a little salty ricotta. It's a dry ricotta cheese. It's delicious. Just a little bit. And I wouldn't necessarily put it with the quiche because you have a lot of cheese on that one, but it just adds another profile to it. And that wonderful grain that we have that we used, that we were cooking earlier and
Right.
chilled, you could have it the night before warm and then have it with the salad, and it's just another great.
Absolutely.
addition.
And then once you've got all the vegetables prepared, like all these roasted vegetables, just put them aside. They'll probably last a couple
You
days.
could throw that in your salad.
You
all
could throw the
stuff you have
toasted
left
vegetables
over.
in there,
We were talking
too.
about the asparagus and putting them together with on the barbecue with one of the skewers and soak it in water for 20 minutes and
Right, and these little onions and those big jumbo asparagus can just go whole, or
right on
just
the-
cut
yeah.
in half right
I
on the
usually
barbecue,
take
and then
a skewer, a wooden skewer, and soak it in water for 30 minutes, and then put it through the asparagus 4 or 5 at a time, and that way they don't fall through the grill if you've got, you know, the old-fashioned long one if you don't have it. And then they have those vegetable grills that you
I
can do.
know,
I
I
mean,
know.
all of those vegetables we did today would be fabulous done like
and
that.
pretty soon it's going to just be too hot to be in the kitchen, so we're going to want to be cooking more outside.
Outside.
Yeah.
So make your quiche now,
Oh,
and then
these
have
are
your
so great.
vegetables after.
And you got your pre-made pie crust. So the whole concept of a daunting quiche has now been totally debunked because seasonal vegetables, pre-make your custard mix, and you just pour it in and get the pie crust out.
Right.
It's so
And these
good.
will
What
be
a
5
treat.
days in your fridge if you make them ahead of time.
Really?
You've got cooking on Monday, and you've got a brunch coming up. It's all
This is so
ours don't
fabulous.
last that long.
So next door is sort of the more day-to-day, or I don't even
It's
mean to
our
say it.
casual.
It's your casual,
dining,
Josie, yeah.
And
yeah.
it has a charcuterie. We're doing all American charcuterie, cheeses and meats, and then we have a wonderful cocktail program that David's running, and wine. I was really surprised. I wanted to do beer and wine and cocktails evenly, and the wine has surpassed with all the fancy cocktails we have. People still love their glass of wine.
Really, yeah.
You like to come in and have your
Yes.
little, you know, lunch at the bar and have
Yes.
something there. So, and that's it. It's a big bar, and then it has, you know, it's smaller than our other restaurant. It's a 50-seat restaurant, but it's a fun neighborhood place. So we get a lot of people coming in, you know, 2 and 3 times a week. And, you know, whereas Josie, they might come in once a month or twice a month. So.
I know, and
So
it's
for
been
our
there
farmers
13
market
yep.
Wednesday. Wednesday
Yes.
we have our farmers market where I do a menu around
Super
that.
special menu selected by Josie. So Josie, this has been amazing, and
Great.
thank you so much. And
My pleasure.
we hope that everyone will want to tune in again and learn more secrets from cooking at the farmers market with another Santa Monica chef.
Yeah.
And Josie, for now, the quiche is the salad fantastic.
Good.
Thank you.
Let's eat.
This is such a treat.
Great.
Let me try
It's
this.
fun.
Yeah.